Elden Ring is a near perfect game. Hell, I'd even go as far to say as it's a perfect game. But that doesn't change the fact that there are still some mechanics that I thought were missing from previous Dark Souls titles all the way through Bloodborne and Sekiro that I thought would have made great additions to Elden Ring. So here are 5 things that I thought were missing from Elden Ring. Bloodborne introduced a mechanic for a short period of time where after a player takes damage, they have a small window to gain some of that lost HP back by hitting an enemy. This helped to reinforce that aggressive, fast-paced, in-your-face gameplay that could have been a huge welcomed return in Elden Ring, especially for the new revamped PvP system. Boss tail weapons. This was introduced and only seen in Dark Souls 1. Hell, just give me boss limb weapons. This has been something I've been begging for ever since getting the Drake Sword early on in Dark Souls 1. But this was a mechanic where you could cut off the tail of specific bosses throughout the game, and they would give you these hidden secret special weapons that you could use. Now imagine that being implemented into Elden Ring where there are 200 different bosses. Imagine you finally get to the fire giant later on in the game and you break his foot, and then you get a massive giant club based off of the bone that fell out of his ankle. How sick would that be? Dedicated Covenants played a huge role in Demon Souls all the way up to Bloodborne, creating new ways that players could explore the world, fight secret bosses, acquire secret endings, score exclusive gear, and even set up for PvP. Unfortunately, Elden Ring didn't bring back Covenants in any meaningful way. There are side quests that could take you to secret bosses or alternate endings, get you secret gear, but the Covenant system never really made a return in Elden Ring. There are some certain quest lines that get you to those alternate endings, but not at the same caliber as Covenants did in previous titles, nor boast that PvP culture. This might be a controversial take, but weapon durability. Kind of a gift and a curse, but weapons and armor durability could have made a smaller variation in how most players explored the lands between. In previous titles, your weapon and armor durability was a very minor worry for the most part, except for some weapons and some sets of armor, but some attacks reduced the durability more than others, like acid, but there was never more of a oh shit feeling than when you hit a boss once and your weapon broke in your hands. You were forced to repair every so often, or at least come prepared with a backup, and it seems as though Elden Ring has had a high focus on best-in-slot items and best-in-slot armor and weapons for many builds. Durability could have at least introduced some ways to make players pick up another weapon or two. Hell, even give us an item to use to repair like in older games, and give it like a secret mechanic that breaks the crystalline bosses, instead of having to hit them 30 times. Miyazaki, isn't that like you like secret shit? Reflections of Strength. Introduced and only seen in Sekiro, this allowed players to refight bosses after already beating them. This could allow for a small subsection of the community, like the speedrunners, for example, to just practice boss fights over and over again instead of having to maintain dedicated save files right before the boss fight. It may have been a bit more difficult since attribute and weapon leveling would differ upon subsequent boss revisits, but there could also be some way to adjust, nerf your stats to a lower state closer to where you'd expect to fight that boss. Anyway, Reflections of Strength were a great mechanic in Sekiro, and I would love to see that make a return in subsequent Souls titles. Anything moving on from Elden Ring? Don't worry, I got a bonus for you. And if you played Bloodborne, you're gonna agree with me. Trust me, I know you will. Trick weapons. Introduced and only seen in Bloodborne, trick weapons allowed for certain weapons in the game to have a couple different modes that you could hold them. One of the coolest and most unique mechanics in Bloodborne was the introduction of trick weapons, where about a dozen or so weapons in the game would be transformed into an alternate state, adding another layer of variation to combat. You could start off with the saw cleaver, it pops open, extends out to give you more range, a new combo set. You could turn a regular short sword into a massive two-handed strength hammer with the Kirk hammer. There are some downsides to this being implemented into Elden Ring. It would ultimately end up competing with the dozens of Ashes of War, but it would be interesting to see a few trick weapons get added in some later DLC maybe. So that's all I got for you right now for a couple of the things that I wish were reintroduced into Elden Ring. Trust me, Elden Ring is a perfect game. It is everything I've ever wanted in a Dark Souls game, and I hate open world games, and I still love this game. So if you Got any other suggestions for things that you wish were in previous Dark Souls titles, in Bloodborne, Sekiro, Demon Souls, any of those games, or even other Souls-like titles that you think would be good mechanics in Elden Ring? Let me know down in the comments. Maybe I'll do another 5 things missing from Elden Ring.